Bob Caparo here. Today, my video will be about Craigslist. And there's a point to this. It's about figuring things out in life. And when it comes to beating a chronic illness, it's about figuring it out, outthinking it. And one thing that we all have to deal with is financial limitations. So what I do to basically double my salary is I buy what I need on Craigslist. We live in a society where people accumulate material wealth and we're judged according to how much material wealth we have. That offers a benefit to many people, including me, that when people don't want something and I need something, I pay less money for it. Sometimes less than half, sometimes 20% of fair market value. Let's just talk about a couple of things that I've gotten here. Number one, I don't use my car to go to work every day. I use my bike. I got this bike, I think about maybe a year ago, and it was in brand new, perfect condition, and I paid about maybe 1/3 the price, less than 1/3 the price of what a new bike would have cost me. And I use this bike twice a day to go to the train station here, and it's been just perfect. Another thing, if we look over here, my car, okay? This car is a 2004 Chevy Malibu Max. I had a 2005 Chevy Malibu Max, and it's perfect for a cello. And you can see these seats in here, they fold down, and this car folds down into a station wagon. And it's just perfect for what I do with the car, with the cello. Anyway, my car after 11 years went, and I wanted to get one just like it. So I hunted Craigslist for 1 month. I spent looking for this car. And I was like the lion in this Serengeti, just sitting back and waiting for my one wildebeest to come along. And I found it. This car belonged to an 85-year-old woman who couldn't drive anymore, and her son sold the car. And the car had 20,700 miles on it after 13 years. So I bought this car, and I've been using it for the past 15 months now, and it's been sensational. So what did I pay for this car? I probably paid about less than, I'm going to say it was about 15% of what a brand new car would have cost me. And I got the car well below fair market value because it needed to be cleaned up. The woman was a smoker, needed to be cleaned on the inside. It was worth it. So that's just two examples. Let's go inside and I'll show you some other examples of things I've done. So we're inside now. I'd like to talk about some of the other things I've gotten on Craigslist. Okay? Fireplace. See this behind me? This is a fireplace that runs on natural gas. And I found a place in July where I bought 3 freestanding gas stoves, and I bought the fireplace insert here on Craigslist. It was a company that was no longer in business. They were going out of business, and they were selling all their fireplace and stove inventory. So I bought the stoves and I bought the fireplace units from them for about 20 cents on the dollar. So right away, these things really make a difference. Let's talk about here, my computer for the house. I found the guy on Craigslist who did it. He's been terrific, and he ended up writing my website, by the way. Found him on Craigslist. This is my stereo. It's a 7-channel Yamaha unit. Very good. Got it on Craigslist for about 1/3 the price of a new unit, okay? And my 300 CD player. This was a good deal because I got this from a guy the morning after Thanksgiving. Found him on Craigslist, and I got in touch with him right after the ad was listed. And he sold the 300 CD player for $75. But it was loaded with 300 CDs, and it had the Tony Bennett anthology, it had all the Frank Sinatra recordings, it had Simon and Garfunkel, it had opera, it had classical, it had you name it. It was loaded with 300 CDs, and they weren't copies, they were all original I got for $75. So that was one of my prized Craigslist finds. So I enjoy this so much. And then if we look at the speakers over here, these are the speakers to my stereo, and this is a Polk RTI 10 speaker. And I got these on Craigslist for, I'm gonna say about maybe 20 cents on the dollar. Someone couldn't use them anymore, so that's where I come in. There's a saying, one man's treasure is another man's trash, or one man's trash is another man's treasure. So this is what I enjoy. Let's go look at something else. Okay, one of the other things I've gotten here on Craigslist, my Olympic weight set. And I work with these every day, and here I'm balancing 135 pounds. And you can see I like free weights because it exercises the central nervous system. So I got this whole here, this Gold's Gym Olympic set from somebody, and it was in their basement. I had to dust it off. Probably hadn't used it in I don't know how long, but this was a good deal. And again, I use it every day, and it was part of following Nolan Ryan's regimen. Nolan Ryan kept the body 20 years old when he was in his mid-40s, so here I am at 59. I'm in probably better shape than I was at 20. So this was a good deal, the Olympic weights, and all my handheld free weights too. I got these, and I use these every day as well. Bought these on Craigslist too. Okay. So moving on, another thing I got on Craigslist, my inversion table. And this is good. I find it's good for the spine, keeps blood flowing to the brain. And my wife Teresa likes this one. But this thing I got on Craigslist, it was in pretty brand new condition. I got it for about less than 1/3 of fair market value. So this is a neat thing because I go back here and it grabs my feet. And I put my hands up, and that feels so good, that stretch on the spine. So this is a great thing to do. I love the way it feels. Just, it's like getting a massage. Someone pulls your spine and stretches it. Very good. So, inversion table. This was a good one. Let's move on. So here, my wife Teresa wanted a treadmill. I got this on Craigslist for a song. And you can find things you want. Exercise equipment, you get people who get inspired for a moment, buy exercise equipment, and then they never use it again. So this was good, this treadmill. So Teresa uses this more than I do, but it's still terrific. Let's move on. Getting into my professional life here with the cello. This case I got on Craigslist a few years ago. It's an aluminum case, been very good. I've used it for airline travel, checking the cello in the hold. It's been very good. And this one I just got it about, maybe about a year and a half ago. I got this on Craigslist too. So again, I paid less than, much less than what I would have new, and it's been a miracle. So let's move on to the last thing I want to talk about today. Before we move on to this, I'd like to talk about when I got this house almost 8 years ago. I needed insulation for 2/3 of the attic. The insulation was 50 years old and it was just completely flat, and there wasn't much insulating quality to it. So I was going to go to Home Depot and spend quite a bit of money, and the night before I was going to insulate the roof and insulate the attic, I got on Craigslist and I put in insulation, and I saw an ad, and it said, demoing a commercial building, all the insulation you could possibly use, like new. No phone calls, no emails, just show up. So I borrowed a truck, and I went over to this place where they were demoing the commercial building, and I got so much insulation, and it was all like new. And the guy who gave it to me was thrilled because he didn't have to get a hazmat dumpster that's a hazardous material dumpster, because it's fiberglass, it's technically hazardous material. So I got all this insulation for free, and I insulated the whole attic of the house for free, and I had leftover too. That was one of my best Craigslist deals ever. But recently I needed a stove for this room here, and this one here, I just got it, and I got it for just a little bit over 10 cents on the dollar, and it's perfect. It's a natural gas stove, and the one great thing I found about using this stove is I just heat up the room I'm in. I don't have to heat the entire house, because if you look at energy expenses of a household, your number one energy expense is heating open space, your number two energy expense is cooling open space, and your third energy expense is heating hot water. So this puts a dent in my first major heating expense, which is heating open space. And this stove here has been absolutely terrific. So I've had this now for about a month, and it's just, I'm in love with it. It's been great. So again, this is just, the point of this whole Craigslist thing is figuring things out. When you are diagnosed with a chronic illness and you want answers, answers are out there. Don't just depend on one or two people to give you answers. It's important to go find these answers yourself. And that's one thing that I've used that to basically make my money go much, much farther, by buying things on Craigslist that I need that people no longer need. So on a closing note, I'd just like to say that this is an exciting week for me. I have 3 book signings at Barnes & Noble stores. Tomorrow, I have my first Barnes & Noble signing at the Barnes & Noble store in Marlton, New Jersey on Route 70. And that's across from the Cole Shopping Center near what used to be the Marlton Circle. And that takes place tomorrow, Sunday, December 3rd, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. If you're interested in coming and hearing me play the cello or asking questions, hearing me speak, and you can't make it tomorrow, don't worry, because I have another signing in Cherry Hill, New Jersey on Wednesday, December 6th. And that takes place from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And that's again on Haddonfield Road off of Route 70 and back of Wegmans. There's Barnes & Noble there. And then I'm going to be in Christiana, Delaware on Saturday, December 9th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And that takes place at the Barnes & Noble in the Christiana Mall in Delaware. So I would love to meet people, to play the cello for them. If they want to ask any questions, I'd be happy to answer, sign my books. So I hope to maybe see you at one of those 3 events. So thank you so much for being with me, and if you like my video today, please remember to like, please remember to share and subscribe. Thanks again.